Good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, all you good fellow fly guys? I promise you I'm gonna get myself together at some point. At some point we're gonna get ourselves together. Yo, you know what it is, the Cat in the Hat, your resident fly guy, your chief architect, Michael Angel, StarArchitects.com. Here to help you redesign your frame of mind when it comes to this lifestyle thing. See, I got my lips together today. They don't look chapped and crazy. Finally found my chapstick. It's terrible. Anywho, yo, I hope that everybody's having a wonderful Tuesday. And today on Taylor Thought Tuesdays, we're going to continue our conversation on how you can tie, get it, tie, we're talking about ties this whole week, tie your look together when it comes to your life and your style. And I wanted to talk to you today about patterns. But before we get started, if this is your first time here, welcome. Please make sure that you give this a thumbs up if you find this information beneficial, and you share this with some friends if you feel like they would benefit from it. And also, if you hop on live, don't forget to shout yourself out anytime you're on here, so I know where you're hitting from. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. This is not a verbal dissertation or a lecture. This is just a conversation. So if you have any questions or thoughts that you want to introduce or you want to have, then by all means have them. If not, I do got a sermon for you, just that quick little sermon for you. All right. So today we're going to be talking all about patterns. And the reason why I wanted to talk about patterns is because patterns are often a great representation of structure, of how we are moving, what we're thinking about, how we think. Is our pattern abstract, or is it more uniform? Is it conservative, or is it expressive? And it also will communicate some of those elements within the process as well. So how does that often show up in life? Well, in life we all have patterns that we move through and that we utilize on a consistent basis. There's just certain things in life that we just consistently do. Every time you wake up in the morning, for the most part, you're probably doing the same thing. Are you waking up and hitting the snooze button, or are you waking up and springing out of bed? Me, I'm the former. I definitely hit the snooze button, but that's something that I had to recognize in order for me to transform, in order for me to change. And so that is one of the things we're going to talk about. First and foremost is mentally, do you recognize your patterns? When it comes to style, one of the interesting things that I've come to realize is a lot of guys are intimidated by patterns, especially when it comes to, mixing and matching patterns, because they get confused or they feel intimidated by them, or they don't know how to recognize what makes qualitative patterns or qualitative pattern mixing, I should say. So what happens is they see a guy wearing 4 different stripes, right? And this wouldn't be particularly common, but like, let's say he has a flannel chalk stripe suit, he has a bingle stripe shirt, and he has a rep tie that he's wearing, and then he may have done like a candy stripe pocket square. Right? Now, for the average guy listening to that, they'd be like, that doesn't make any sense, until you realize that the flannel, the chalk stripe is a faint chalk stripe, so it's still visible, but it's very, very faint. The bingle stripe is bold and widespread, and then the tie is even wider spread, and the pocket square has a wider separation in these stripes. Well, now when we start talking about proportion, all these things make sense. And in the same space, once you can recognize patterns and how they actually fit and form the picture for your presentation, then they can be that much more beneficial to you. And so patterns are not necessarily going to be a bad thing, and they're not going to necessarily be a good thing. What you should be asking yourself is this going to be beneficial to me? Is this helping me in the progress or the space that I'm looking to move forward to? So the second aspect of that is how do you figure out what your patterns are? First thing that you should ask yourself, like I said, is what are the things that you're doing consistently on a day-to-day basis and on a weekly basis? And not like, where are you going? Like, oh, I go to work every day, so that's a pattern. No. What are you doing when you wake up? Is it brushing your teeth and washing your face when you're in the space? Do you go to the same spaces for lunch every day? And then asking yourself, why do you do that? Maybe you're a person who just does not like change. It's not necessarily a good or a bad thing, but it is a limiting thing if it keeps you from exploring some new opportunities. Or maybe you do something different every day, right? And it's because you don't want consistency, because you're fighting that notion or the need to be consistent in a space. If that's the case, maybe a good question to ask, why don't I want order or structure in my life? And once you can recognize those two things, right, just doing those two simple things, then you can start formulating whether or not you want to transform or, begin to manipulate those things towards your benefit. Now, once you understand those elements and you've made that decision, now it is time for you to start building on those things. So for me waking up and hitting the snooze button is not beneficial to me, because for me, the snooze button may have me oversleeping 30-40 minutes. Like, I can't afford to do that. Like, I got to get up and do certain things. So I had to start asking myself, well, why am I waking up and hitting the snooze button? Well, for me, it was, I didn't really feel like I had a whole lot to get up for. Like, I was dealing with certain bouts of not depression, but maybe melancholy feelings, and not really feeling like I had purpose. Now I'm hitting the snooze button, and a lot of the times it may be because I'm feeling in disarray right now. Again, we're still reorganizing the new space that we've moved into. Everything is still all over the place and there's no order. Now, again, that's going to pass. We're getting quickly, organized so that I'm not in that space. But you have to recognize those things. And once you recognize those things, then you can begin putting in and constructing things that are going to work towards your advantage. Well, how did I do that? First and foremost, I started going on YouTube, so you can stay on YouTube, and started looking for routines and things and habits that successful people are doing. Successful people are waking up at the same time every day. They're waking up with a spirit of gratitude. They're journaling, they're reading, they're doing all these different types of things in the morning, right? When they're starting their day. And so then you test those things. Yo, which one of these do I like doing? Do I do all of these things? And then when you're constructing these things, you actually construct consistency. Now, they say, some studies have said that it takes about 60 to 90 days for you to break a habit. First 30 days, you're going to begin to break the habit, right? And that's going to be one of the toughest elements of that time. Then with by day 60, you have a understanding of that, but you potentially are going to be dealing with feelings of like regression. But by day 90, you have a pretty good system in place where you can start really integrating this into your lifestyle. I don't know if I believe that, because I've done 90-day practices, and they may have transformed me or changed me for a time, but they didn't transform me. And so what somebody said was, why do you keep on worrying about time when you should just be worrying about the day, right? So I would tell you on that side to worry about the day, but every day to do something that is enhancing and developing your lifestyle. So that then what you can end up doing is you can begin to say, okay, I have this pattern. I recognize the pattern. I know that I want to transform it or enhance it. And now I am taking steps to learn about how to do that. And then also what I'm doing is I'm intentionally practicing those traits and those concepts on a day-to-day basis. Because what that ends up doing is it ends up communicating a feeling of confidence. Like, the thing about it is that we, for some reason, tend to want to be random, it seems like nowadays, but that is not going to have any staying power. Nobody wants to deal with a random person long term. They just don't. But if they see patterns of consistency, accountability, responsibility, forward movement, intention, and focus, man, focus doesn't have to be this super intense type of feeling. Focus just means, listen, I'm not going to waver on, or I'm not going to be distracted. So if you're not distracted and you're moving forward, then it's an easy Back that up. It's a simple state of mind for you to put yourself in. So again, recognize the patterns in your life and in your personal style. Ask yourself why you're doing those things. Then begin to construct manners that are going to enhance or transform those things. And then communicate your very best self. Because that's essentially what your style is all about. It's about the reflection of the very best version of your presentation that you're putting out on a consistent basis so that people understand your pattern and your path for greatness. So I want you to try that on, see how it fits you. And let me know your thoughts. Today at 6:30, we're going to be talking about patterns and ties, and the ties that you need to have. Master Yip, what's going on, sir? Thank you for joining. And yeah, so it should be a dope conversation, and I look forward to continuing the conversation with you guys. Outside of that, be great today. It's Tuesday. Then again, you guys know that you're great. I love telling you guys that you're great, though. So now all you have to do is show up and show out in style, and above all, to remember that dress is nothing more than the expression of a man's state of mind. So you, yes, you should always dress to express. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.